What's going on, dudes and dudettes out there in Waiting for Galaxy Land? Happy Thirsty Thursday. Like I mentioned in one of the comments somewhere on the video that I put out last night, that was really supposed to be a couple-minute video. Kind of got away from me there, didn't it? We're gonna go ahead and just have a nice, chill little live stream. Take a look at the crypto market in general, and I haven't done much TA on AMP. We're gonna go ahead and sit together and take a look at what things are shaping up on the AMP chart, look at the bigger, widespread narrative in the crypto market in general, and we'll poke around and see if we can find any interesting news about AMP and Flexa. How's that sound? I'm going to go ahead and give us a second to go ahead and take a peek at some of the charts here. So let's go ahead and frame where we're at today, huh? Today is the 20th of May, 2021. Yep, I'm still alive. So, over here on AMP, over the past while, we came up and we managed to top out nearly 8 cents, up here in this 1.0 to 1.618 range, which unfortunately coincided with a greater short-term bearish trend in the crypto market, largely led by Bitcoin. Meanwhile, Ethereum was breaking new all-time highs, shattering records, and many altcoins were shattering records as well. But we found ourselves somewhat tied to what was going on over here. So over on the daily, just to frame ourselves, Bitcoin kept setting new all-time highs until about February, at which point we entered really what I called the crab zone, this kind of sideways consolidation in this sort of, 45 to really 60 low 60s thousand range. Kept posting higher highs. This here looks like a wrong wick from Bittrex. Either way. And then we started seeing a little bit of one of those continued downtrends, and then this happened. 8 days ago, last Wednesday. This single hit candle here, precipitated by none other than old Elon Musk, coming out with every bull cycle somebody starts the FUD campaign. FUD about the energy efficiency of Bitcoin. This candle here dumped Bitcoin itself about 16%. But oh boy, Elon Musk was not happy with that. Through the rest of the week, up to the beginning of this week. Tweet after tweet after tweet after tweet. Flooding Bitcoin all the way down to 30,000 US dollars. Kind of felt like the end, didn't it? Absolutely. Right now, we're looking at a recovery, and we've been kind of battling with the 42,000 zone, which proved to be a pretty rock-solid number leading up to this dump. So that's where we are in the grander scheme of the crypto space. Now, I'm going to get off of Bitcoin here in a minute, and we'll jump over to AMP news, what's going on the AMP charts. But one other thing I briefly showed in the video last night is for people like me who had kind of forgotten what the bull market really was like back in 2017. And for the noobs especially, right? This here, if we measure from top to bottom of this move, was about a 55% dump to the downside. If you got into Bitcoin anywhere up here, you probably felt even worse than I did, right? So let's go back and do a little framing. Does this here chart look familiar? First, let's start here. This chart here, from about October or November to now, just kind of hold that image in your head of a bit of a rounding top, eventually posting a high and rounding off and dumping, huh? Well, spot any similarities between these charts? Sure, this one is a little bit flatter, still posting a high after high after high though. But again, you see a high, a roll off, and massive correction. This was the giant crash in July of 2017, where we traveled down from about 3,000 US dollars to a bottom around 1900. What happened after that? Well, you guys probably know the story. Another dump just like that. And eventually topping out just under 20,000 US dollars. Now remember where that massive crash happened here, huh? We went from $3,000 down to about 1,900. You know, that's about a third. A little bit more, probably about 40% dumped off of the price. But you'll say, what we just experienced was even worse. What are you talking about? Well, let's go over here to... Seems I may have lost that chart. Oh, no. This the one? No, that's current. Let's go back to March of 2017. A little bit less of that round off, but again, major dump to the downside. The key point being, if we go back and measure some of these giant moves back then, let's see if it'll let me take it back on the candles. Should. Okay. Actually, I have some charted here. Oh, no, those are upswings. So, here is the blow off top of the 2017 bull run. So, let's go ahead and expand out. Thought I had all my tabs here ready to go. Seems I was missing a couple. So, let's go ahead and blow ourselves up here. Yes, so this July crash to the very bottom wick is the real important part. Sorry, this is June of 2016. Although, that was kind of the beginning of that bull run. Let's take a look at that one, huh? Because the bottom out happened, and then we had this here. From early June to mid-July. That was about a 40% dump. Another one here. Probably much smaller. 35%. Let's get up to June to July is what we were looking for of 2017. 40%. Just like I thought. Cool. Let's zoom this out a little bit, or drag this in, I should say. This was the one I was looking for. It's kind of hard to see this one when you're looking solely at the line charts. Give me a second. There you go. When you're looking at the line charts, this kind of gets lost in the noise. This right here, over the course of probably about 3 or 4 days. So even more rapid and face melting than what we just had. Was 33%. I know there is a top to bottom in here of 50%. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong exchange. But, oh, there we go. There. Down to the bottom of that wick. It's another 40%. Key point here being, don't beat yourself up too much over what just happened. This happens all the time in these bull cycles. Man, wish I could find that particular section. I'm having a hard time. Let's look at this one, though, too. Down from about 5,000. So big of a dip. I didn't have it on the screen. 5,000. It's about a 40% drop. Just pointing out that what occurred, not unprecedented, happens all the time. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, we all understand when Bitcoin goes on a massive dump, the market tends to travel with it. Now, from the peak here on 6th of May 2021 of AMP, let's go ahead and look at where our Bitcoin peak was. Well, we're going to go ahead and do measurements from that last reach out to 60,000 on Bitcoin. Because that kind of coincides with our peak for AMP. So let's measure this dump. See that Bitcoin dropped about 50% from that peak that was roughly coincident with the drop in the AMP charts. If we jump over to AMP, I want to make a point here. About 48%. Very, very similar order of magnitude. But the other alternative way to measure this would be this is the all-time high. And if we measure Bitcoin instead from its all-time high, ignoring that scam wick, looking at about 53%. So on the dump, slightly kind of sort of outperformed Bitcoin. I mean, I understand that's peanuts at this point. But let's look at some other alts, shall we? How about let's look at Ethereum from its all-time high. And I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants here, just to kind of see together how's AMP performing compared to the rest of the altcoin marketplace. And look at that, Ethereum dropped about 58% from its all-time high, not that long ago, down to the bottom of this dump here. How about Chainlink maybe? Huh? I know I was watching the link charts and did not feel good. All-time high of 53, down to the bottom. 60% correction. One other one that held very well. As you guys know, I'm not a XRP YouTuber, but very invested in XRP. Technically not the all-time high, but the high for this cycle so far. Around about 50%. If we're measuring from the all-time high, which is back in March. If we're measuring from the local top of about 175, 176. More like kind of akin to AMP, a 47, 48% dip. So of the really big top alts, we're not doing so shabby here. Especially in comparison to Bitcoin performance. One other one that I don't really track, but I believe people were saying was doing pretty darn well was Cardano. Let's see how that performed here. It just at an all-time high. Ooh, about a 60% up. So of AMP is really kind of performing on par with many of the dominant top cap alts. Dogecoin, don't get me started on. We're not even going to bother with that. So up here in the top 6 or so, we're not doing too bad. We can look at BNB, but I imagine it would tell the same story. So that's kind of situating where we're at in relation to fellow top. Well, actually not fellow for AMP. AMP. Gosh, where are we on CoinMarketCap? Way down so far that I gotta go to page 2, I think. It's ample 4th. That's right. CoinMarketCap has a funky, wrong calculation for AMP. Number 67 is where we're sitting at. Not doing too shabby in performance recently. Okay, that's kind of a boring little bit there. Just kind of framing ourselves, seeing where we're at. Let's go ahead and do a little TA, see if we got any questions in the chat. Negative, nothing in the chat. Can you guys hear me? I assume you can. So, quick TA over on the charts here. I was playing around with these Fibonacci time indicators. Not really doing so much for me. Let's delete those. And I've got a couple retraces drawn here. And we've got a little bit of coincidence between them. So over here on the left is the Fib retrace of really the top that we had back in February. I would argue actually that this is pretty darn close to irrelevant. So we'll be looking at probably just these Fibonacci retrace and hopefully eventually extension levels up here. Oh, look at that. We had a little bit of this was from one of the live streams, a little bit of an overconfident. Here's maybe what it might look like if we were to reach out near $1. I'm going to go ahead and delete that because clearly that didn't quite pan out. That was just kind of squiggling on the chart kind of over the course of the year. So you can see not a perfect bounce off the very bottom, but that was a brutal crash that we had And let's go ahead and look at this on the hourly instead and see how that fared. Yeah, as you can see, it was mostly wicking down below there, but at the very, very bottom of that dump last night, we did break below that final retrace value for coincidentally on the hour there, but by and large, 4.2% held as solid support. And you can see, really, the key takeaway is always these fib levels always end up really looking to tell a story. Provided a lot of support over the course of today here at the at about 4.85 cents, which was coincident with this EMA of 21 hours. Not a super important indicator on the hourly, but worth mentioning. So my expectation here in the immediate short term is over the next couple candles, we're probably going to kiss up on this 5.2, 5.25 range. Coincidentally, that was strong resistance back. Gosh, I keep forgetting we're on the hourly. Last night was strong resistance, and then poof. So expectation would be, as long as this bullish momentum that we're seeing continues, I assume this was a bit of a scam wake up here to 5.6. If this bullish trend continues, I expect to battle this overnight. Remember, we're in UTC time. Battle that 5.25 and hopefully start making our way. Again, we're going to have resistance around 5.35 or so. Was resistance provided resistance back here? I'm just talking on the hourly, not really talking macro right now. But I think over the next day or two, we should expect to hit that 5.5 cent range again. Hell, maybe tomorrow. But let's look more on the macro trend because that's a little bit more interesting, eh? So, expectations, just kind of looking at the momentum here, is hopefully we start seeing a much more rapid rise to the upside. And I'm hoping by, I hate to use the word hoping, but we've got 11 days left in March. I think by the end, sorry, not March, May. By the end of the month, I expect to be up here in the kind of 786 to 1 range of that high here. We've been doing TA off of this high. Probably just as good of an idea. Now that we're talking about getting up in that range, let's take it off this a little bit shorter time frame. Top to the itty bitty bottom. Right. And let's jump that over to the hourly and see if we see any insight. Again, battled the retrace out of the consolidation zone there. And we should be pretty clear on our way up to 5.5, at which point, again, we're going to kind of see a little bit of resistance, and then I'm going to hide this 200-hour moving average. Kind of a silly metric there. Okay, so back to the daily. We saw that consolidation there, fighting for the battle. Yeah, still pretty similar. Expect hitting the 5.5 pretty soon, and I expect to get up to the, I guess that would put us at the 618 to 786. So between 6.37 cents to about 7 cents before the end of the month is my target. Now, if Bitcoin goes on a rampage like some people are expecting, that might go out the window, and we could see ourselves start talking about the more fun ranges of clearing this all-time high and starting to flirt with these extension ranges up here instead. So, you know, it's worth kind of doing a little bag math, huh? So once we clear the all-time high here, let me go ahead and just extend this out so I can pretend like we're talking about time frames, even though that's kind of a dangerous proposition to do. My expectation for this move on kind of a macro trend, probably midsummer, would be the very tippy top of this extension of this not micro, not macro, sort of medium term trend would be about 20 cents. Maybe we clear that all time high, say mid June. God, I keep forgetting it's already May. Clear that all time high mid June or so. I think if that happens, this 20 cent range could be very possible in the July timeframe. Again, a lot of people are targeting the $1 price target for AMP. And I mean, in the context of a mega bull run, it's certainly not impossible, especially when you look at it on the log chart. And you kind of go with, we've talked about it before, the expectation of kind of the bull run ending somewhere in this October to November timeframe looks pretty reasonable, especially when you consider we're very coiled up here. We haven't coiled as long as we did back in February, but that was that phase where Bitcoin was kind of ranging and downtrending and everything else. $1 is not unrealistic. However, I'm going to be forthcoming and say that I'm probably looking to exit most of my positions around 40 to 50 cents. Just because it ain't my first rodeo. I know that everybody likes to target these pie-in-the-sky positions of, I remember in 2017, a lot of people were saying $100,000 Bitcoin. Clearly that did not happen. It still hasn't happened. But there were a lot of people throwing that around back then. And wild speculative targets go around, and they start to become part of the zeitgeist and the general sentiment, and they never end up happening. Smart money gets out before the numbers that really get hyped up. Is it possible we could touch $1 for like a day, an hour, 2 hours? Very, very possible. Especially if altcoin mania, if we continue just a nice trend upwards, and then, alt season mania hits in November, we blow off top to $1. That could happen. And there's a reason. When I say I'm getting out around 40 to 50 cents of most of my position, I'm going to hold on to, 25% or so just to see, hey, maybe it'll blow off and end up being worth 50% of the sell-off that I made. So it's always fun to do the long-term projections. But what is our pattern kind of looking like here on the actual discernible trend line or discernible time frame? Very, very tempting to paint this as a bull flag, or a bull pennant. I always get those two confused. Whatever the one is that you have a descending channel after a mega rise up period, just like this one was. The only problem is Elon kind of threw a wrench in that plan, huh? Kind of looked like he could draw that, and we started breaking that, and it just got worse and worse and worse because of allegedly Mr. Scam Artist. That's an entirely different subject. There's some pretty interesting chronologies of that guy's involvement in Bitcoin or not in Bitcoin, sorry, in business, I meant to say. That guy's involvement in business that is, doesn't paint the rosiest picture of him as a person or as a businessman. But that's neither here nor there. He kind of threw a monkey wrench into our plans there because we started breaking that very tight trend. I had that wick down real quick, but this is UTC, that's right. So yeah, that breakdown right there was around the first Elon dump. We came back up to trade back in this consolidation, pen it here, and then the final capitulation move. Now, what would be nice... Oh, gosh, trading view. I want to extend this. Would be if we managed to take this daily candle that we just opened up, 2 hours? I have the UTC time in the bottom. An hour and 45 minutes. Go. If we can take this candle and do, say, a bullish engulfing of that red candle, I know these lines aren't exactly perpendicular or parallel, but close enough for our purposes. If we could get this back up into this pennant, maybe trade down a little bit and then make our breakout. You know, the flagpole of the pennant kind of depends on where you want to measure from, because really you could call all the way back to April the flagpole here and start making wild price predictions. All I'm looking for is get up in this pennant, range a little bit, break the upper bound, and start moving up on these fib targets that we're painting. LA Ramon, I just now, so Brave browser, I have OBS Studio broadcasting one window, and I have another window that I was just doing the Windows hover over to see the preview. Turns out I don't see comments until I click on the hover over. So talking about volume. Yeah, so yesterday, for some reason on my trading view, I hid the volume because it was taking up a lot of space. And that was very silly of me. But yeah, you are absolutely correct. And I'm glad I saw you bring that up, because I like to make a lot of these trades based, or not trades, I'm not swinging amp, but I like to make a lot of projections based on volume that is coming in. And absolutely. So clearly that, gosh, that was an incredible run from mid-April for about a week. Volume really ramped up, but we have found a very stable base of support and volume. The reason the volume, I think, for yesterday is so much higher than the past week or so, gets back to a point of why when Bitcoin even makes these wicks down, because it was really kind of a wick and then a recovery. Well, if you're trading in US time, on UTC time, bottomed out and then kept going. But it wasn't that long that we were sitting at $30,000. Oh, wait. See, the volume was so huge on Bitcoin that I couldn't really see the wick there. Yeah. The reason that those giant dumps tend to propagate out, I believe, and then alts like AMP immediately start making a recovery that's... We gotta check out the percentage recovery we're seeing versus Bitcoin. But either way, as Bitcoin goes on this giant dump, it makes this giant wick. There's a reason whales like to do stop loss hunting, which is whales dumping a bunch of money on the market and suppressing prices artificially, very briefly. The idea is somebody trading on margin that's on 100x margin. There are people that trade Bitcoin on 100x margin. It doesn't take much to liquidate their position, and if you wick down to 30,000 US dollars from our high of 65,000, or even from where the candle opened of 43,000, you liquidate so many positions. And number one, I am willing to bet that many exchanges that aren't well regulated but have a lot of volume that trade through them, I would bet any amount of money that those exchanges use the amount of Bitcoin that they have available to kind of make this happen. And in some ways, you can't blame them. Right? You can, but some of you, Mt. Gox, for example, back in the old days, back in my days, Sonny, exchanges were incredibly illiquid. People would buy Bitcoin and then cash out, 20x later, and those exchanges just did not have the fiat inflow to cover those outputs, and eventually exchanges would shut down because they just couldn't pay out people trying to cash out. And then somebody thought up margin trading, and liquidating people's margins, for US dollars. So That's a little conspiratorial, but you can imagine there are pressures that make that happen. But the reason I talk about that is when you have a wick like this that liquidates so many people's positions, if they don't have the funds in the account to coverage a flash crash like that, the exchange is not going to take on debt for their bad trade, right? They're not going to go in the hole. They're going to liquidate altcoins that might be held in that person's wallet, right? It might say, well, sorry, bud, you're holding a bunch of AMP and it's not looking too bad, so your liquidation is going to be us selling your AMP too. Out on the spot exchange. So you see those massive flash crashes ripple out all the way through the market. And, of course, people panic and freak out when they see that crash. And then finally, there's a third pressure that also causes giant things like this, when in reality, AMP is down at like position 67, has really good fundamentals, blah, 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 blah. People see Bitcoin dump down 25% in a day, 50% over a very short time period. That's Bitcoin on sale, 50% off. And they say, you know what? I'm going to liquidate this position. AMP probably has a very good ROI ahead of it, but Bitcoin is guaranteed to slowly continue trending upward over a long period of time if they have a longer time horizon and are using their alts to consolidate and stack Satoshis, right? So it's kind of a long narrative here. I agree that Ryan Chapman. I think Link was a game changer, particularly for the DeFi marketplace, and I do believe that AMP has the potential to get up there in that higher market cap ranking range just based on what they're solving. Which leads me to should talk a little bit of news and fundamentals. The most recent one I saw, so that's kind of the TA on the midterm is, let's get back on with this pennant and then let's go from there, right? We could start trying to draw things on the weekly, but we kind of had a black swan event here, and I think a lot of long-term patterns just would not be valid to try to draw, especially with this giant wicking that we've had here. Just the fib levels make sense, but even then, I'm skeptical of drawing a fib level down to this very, 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 very bottom. And that's why I was doing TA earlier off of this previous high over here. But anyway, let's look at CoinDesk consensus schedule. So CoinDesk, one of the biggest of the crypto news websites, I'm sure you guys all know. A lot of speakers coming in. Michael Saylor, Kathy Wood, CZ. Let me see if he's on here or if it's down in the schedule a little bit. I gotta find the schedule. AMP is presenting here, or Flexa, I should say. I just have to find their schedule. I have this page pulled up on my phone. Let's see. CoinDesk consensus Flexa. Not what I'm looking for. There we go. Is this it? Yes. Okay. Okay, I didn't realize how humongous the actual speaker list was, but you'll notice over here, Kilgore at Flexa, VP of Engineering, Tyler Spalding, CEO, and Chris Pick, Senior Software Engineer. So, listed on the panelists. I mean, I came here looking specifically for Flexa on my phone, found that they have an event. They have an event on the schedule, actually. And I need to, was it the 26th, I think? Give me just a second here. Yeah, here we go. 11 to 2 p.m. Ooh, Brad Garlinghouse too. 11 to 2 p.m. Is a discussion on payments through the Flexa network. And there was one other one here on the 26th. Yeah. So Flexa has two events that they're paneling, hosting, whatever you want to say, at the CoinDesk Consensus event. And that's coming up here in a few days. So that's pretty exciting. Checking the chat here. Didn't hear from you. Right before Visa, huh? Let's check that out. $12.25. Actually, kind of concurrent with Visa. But yeah, same conference. Concurrent with Brad Garlinghouse. Looks like it's going to be a big event. I think they're doing this virtual. So I guess that allows them to bring on a lot more people. Let's go ahead and why don't we just check out the Twitter sphere for AMP and Flexa, just out of curiosity. See if I missed anything here. Oh yeah, that was a good one. Flexa has integrated with Chainlink, so to my Link Marines out there, another partnership. It's like all these DeFi collateralization, all these partnerships are just constantly flowing in if you pay attention to Chainlink. Looking at kind of over the past few weeks here, some more opportunities for staking, opportunities for DeFi loans. I don't like talking about Doge, but Flexa allowing for payment through Doge, payment of Doge through Flexa. I mean, I guess kind of getting the normie sphere on board isn't bad. Let's see if there's any other news with Flexa. I remember somebody sent me a link from early this month. This might have been it. Integration with Sitcon. Aris. Let's check these two companies out, huh? Let's do the Wikipedia instead. Oh, I don't have to go digging through their website. We can see the highlights. This is probably going to just take me to the car. Yeah. Nope, different Aris. Okay. Judging by their descriptions, Nope. Okay, so judging by the descriptions I saw, they do provide some back end for a good deal of major retailers. I will say this probably an oversell. 1 in every 5 top 100 retailers, just because I couldn't really find much information on them. But neither here nor there. The important part is for payments platforms scaling out and collateralizing more and more through the Flexa network. That's good to see. And it's also nice because we did go through that low period, late winter, early spring, where there was really just no news whatsoever about in this space. No new partnerships, no nothing. So to see them partnering with these payment networks, I don't want to sit here and read these articles, but yeah. So that's good. Otherwise, I'm kind of up to kind of covered what I really wanted to cover. Kind of gives us a good crash course to get back into the swing of things here. Took a pretty long break, but we back. I'm gonna catch up on the comments again. Oh, Ryan Chapman. Which one were you talking about? That is for the payments with WeChat. One of those two that were mentioned, I assume. LA Ramon too. Yeah, as much as I hate to admit it, allowing spending of Doge was a smart move. WeChat is the newer of the two, huh? So that would be. Let me jump back over here. Twitter app. No, I was looking for Flex. That's right. So Sitcon, okay, cool. That's big. Right, Sitcon, yeah. Anybody else in the chat have anything? If not, I'll give it another hang out for another 30 seconds and then call it a Thirsty Thursday and go crack some brewskis, huh? A Terrorbyte. I have a friend holding on to 1.8 million amp. Would he be considered a whale? Now, on the XRP ledger, there are some tools that kind of give you wallet rankings. As far as like who's in the top 0.1%. CoinMarketCap sometimes do that. Let me think here. There should be a blockchain scanner that might do it. Let me think. Yeah, so if we Etherscan will actually let us look at the token. So this one probably Founder or Burn Wallet. Well, that one has a contract on it. So discounting the contracts, 725 mil, 63 mil. Well, let me put it this way. Your friend is only has to go back to page 3. I bet this is him right here, one of these two. Only have to go back to, or one of these. I don't want to be a jerk and dox your friend's Ether wallet, but so somewhere I'm gonna also account that he probably rounds from anywhere in here. Only has to go to page 3. He's within the top 120, probably 120 wallets. So frankly, I would consider that pretty whalish. Oh, 2.8 million? Then definitely, yeah, compared to 1.8 million. Should tell him to buy a little bit more and he'll break the top 100. If you discount the contract addresses that were showing up, one of them's Uniswap, two of them are Uniswap. Or Uni and Sushi, sorry. Once you discount those, discount a couple of the main contracts, yeah, I'd say he's in the top 100. Tell him to go pat himself on the back. Way to go. Nick Nixon, didn't they partner with YLD? For some reason, that's not ringing a bell. Oh. Yeah, I think that was over there. Yeah, that was one of those where I said, yeah, some DeFi partnerships. I remember seeing that. Might have been on the AMP token one. Yeah, May 10th. They got listed on Yield where, like I said, DeFi, you can lend and borrow AMP token. Yep. Okay, looks like all of us are kind of caught up, and I'm gonna give it 30 seconds and then give her the old sign off, huh? I do like it in the chats though, because a lot of times they do just the questions themselves, and searching up the answer can provide some pretty good insight for myself especially. Yeah, boys. That's about all I have for you today, guys. Have a good one.